Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Triton-Cup. We are getting into our losers bracket. We are going to be setting up our contender for the grand finals. I'm sorry, we're on winners finals. Then we'll be going on to the losers bracket. I will be your co-commentator. It is I, the Mad Gamer, and then I'll be joined by Weef.
Hello everyone, I'm excited. Like we said, winners finals, very exciting. Then we move on to losers and then grands. You know, it's all uphill from here. Matches are going to get more and more intense as we go on, leading up to grands. There's always such a good time, but right now we're about to get into it. We're going to be watching Splat Zones on Mahi Resort with LSNN versus ASC Tenshi, and looks like we're going to get right into it real soon here. There we go. Every time I try to predict it, it just didn't come out right. But anyway, let's see what these teams decide to run here. We are gonna see a quad shooter comp here with was it I don't know, machine, also machine everywhere and splashes everywhere. It's a good time.
Yes, indeed. We're running all the shooties and the sloshies is going in. And of course, this is, once again, a zones-only tournament, so there's going to be a lot of paint flying around. We'll just have to hope that none of these poor goods and octos take a wrong step into the water here.
Oh yeah, it is my god-given right to play dually squelchers on this map and roll off at least 4 times. But it looks like, speaking of rolling, ASC Tenshi is in a good spot right now. They had LSNN about 2 down, and we're going to see how they proceed and how they, hopefully for them, they want to set out a lockout, and we'll see how that goes. The clock is ticking for LSSN to get out.
You do see the Booyah Bob getting thrown out, just trying to displace him a bit, and the Bubbler on the zone, trying to just pick over that corner right there. They do lose their splash in the process, and now with the Crab Tank on lock and the Ink Strike, they are going to quickly lose that back again, but they're not giving up just yet. They're going to go until they sent back to spawn forcefully.
Yeah, the 52 takes down a splash with it as it goes, but that does look like LSSN is going to be on the defense yet again, as as ASC Tenshi just has a pretty powerful hold on mid here. Price Strike's going to go out, and we get to see a trade between a machine and a splash, I believe. So really strong hold, but it's going to be interrupted here. This Crab Tank going to disrupt things quite a bit, meaning that it's going to be more of a scrap fest in mid, as LSN is going to start taking down their timer.
Yeah, that was a nice crab right there. That's going to just allow LSNN to just set up really nice here in a position they haven't really had a chance to throughout this match, and now they're putting tension on the back foot, being in the position that they were not too long ago.
Oh yeah. We're looking really dangerous for ASC Tenshi here. Only about 5 points left until the lead swap. The zone is going to get neutralized. We're going to see if they actually have what it takes right now to cap it. There's a big scrap in mid right now. Machines flying. It looks like ASC Tenshi does not have what it takes. Everyone is going down, and that machine, who is the last one left, is going to jump out, and which means LSSN is going to have time to move in and further their lead even more.
Yeah, that was a huge play right there. Like, it honestly could have gone either way, but just allowing them to win their 1v1s right in the middle of the zone that just kept them in control, and with 10 points remaining is going to... Oh, now they are going to be able to get that flip there with the Trash Strike, but with only the bucket back up, I imagine that LSNN is going to take that zone right back.
That does mean that LSNN has a hefty penalty on their side, but they're sitting pretty on their lead, and there's the same amount of time that ASC Tenshi would have to take to eventually take that lead back themselves on their penalty side. So they just need to wait. They just need to hold mid pretty tightly here and wait out the timer until it ends. But things could always get upset. ASC Tenshi, going 2-2. That Booyah Bomb on the side of LSN is gonna get bullied a little bit, but does prevail still. Alpha members of LSN were on the zone and up for a brief period of time before going down, but right now mid is solidly in the control as we go further into this game, and their timer ticks down even more.
That timer is ticking down. ASC Tension haven't been able to really hold on the zone for too much longer. Like, they had such a strong opening, but then they haven't really been able to bring it back since LSNN took over the zone. They have certainly flipped it a couple of times, just increasing the penalty, but then they haven't been able to keep their members alive. They keep it for too long.
Yeah, this crab tank gets 1 pick, 2 picks, and now the other 2 members of ASC Tenshi are going to be forced to back up a little bit. This map is way more open than it was at the beginning, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily that much easier to stay alive on when you have a few people on your tail trying to get you, and eventually that splash does go down. LSNN only has 20 points left, here or there, until they KO, and ASC Tenshi is 2 down. The machine has the Booyah Bomb, but with how much pressure is being applied on them, we don't know if they're going to be able to use it in time. 10 seconds left on the board. 3 down, or not 3 down, just only, 1 member down on the side of LSSN, looking pretty good for them, and that is going to be the KO.
There looks like they were getting close to taking that back, but they weren't quite in time. That is going to be a strong knockout for LSNN for this first matchup right here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like you said, ASC Tenshi had a really good opening in terms of having solid control, but once the water dropped, it seems like they were really, really struggling here. But we're gonna see how they respond to that match, what they've learned from this first matchup here, how they interact with the other team, and we're gonna see what they're cooking up for their counter pick to try and counter it.
Yes, indeed, this is going to be the counter pick system. So now Tension has an opportunity to pick a map that maybe they are more comfortable with. I know Mahi is not quite in everyone's ballpark. Not everyone is too much of a fan of it, but they did play rather strongly on it. So I am curious to see what they are going to be picking.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's being a zones only tournament, we only have. If we limit it to the traditional zones maps that you see in tournaments, we'd only have like 5, and that would eventually get boring. But we have some really interesting maps to choose from. Last set we saw Mincemeat, which is something that you never want to see in a tournament that has more than zones, but it does mean that, the teams might be unused to playing on it, and if you feel confident on it, it could definitely be an option to choose something that isn't in the traditional map pools, just to try to shake things up a little bit, make your opponent feel uneasy.
Yes, that is true. When you do draw on a larger map pool, it does tend to throw a couple of curveballs at some of these teams. But yeah, Mincemeat is not high on my priority list, but who knows, we might see something crazy today. I think some of the newer maps as well, such as Flandra Heights could also be a good choice, or even the Brightwater Springs could be coming out, but it does look like we're going to be going to Wahoo World for this next one.
Is the pole map, the map that has a pole now, because a pole fixes everything. It's like they slapped a band-aid onto it, or is it? Yeah, okay, it's gonna be Wahoo. So we're gonna see how a single 2-foot long pole is gonna change up this map, or not. We'll see. But yeah, that's it's gonna be interesting to see. Both of these teams have been running pretty aggressive comps here. We've been seeing splashes, machines. We saw Junior, basically all the classic shooters that we've seen in this game, and that have so much forward presence and mobility. And we're gonna see how they interact with this map that has a pretty big choke point into mid.
Absolutely. I know that the pole was designed to be just a lucky charm to ward off E-leaders, but we won't be seeing any of those, or any other charger for that matter, from what we've seen so far. And so, as you said, yeah, just the frontline presence of these two teams is going to be huge. And I imagine with just the zone being such a high ground spot, Crab Tank and maybe some other of the Ink Strike weapons are going to be pretty dominant here.
Yeah, if you don't see a backline being brought out onto zones Mahi, you're not seeing it anywhere. An E-leader, or even the new ZNF, or even something like a Heavy or a Hydra can absolutely dominate on that map. And so, once again, if you don't see it there, you're not seeing it anywhere. But we're going to go right into it and see if these teams decide to shake things up a little bit, or if we're going to see more of the same. Looks like we're going to see more of the same from LSSN. And also ASC Tenshi deciding to stick with what works.
No changes as far as I can see. As again, you said, they are sticking with what works. They are in a comfortable spot now, and when they are in the finals here, you really do want to go with what you're most comfortable with.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Already we see a Crab Tank going out on the field, putting so much pressure on the zone. Even though ASC Tenshi had the hold of the zone for a little bit, it quickly gets swept in their 5-point lead gets taken from them. But looks like we're going to be seeing a lot of that in this early game as the zone is hotly contested, flipping back and forth. None of these teams are at a major disadvantage, just picks going out left and right. We're going to see specials coming out left and right, as well as both of these teams just try to scrape out any advantage to stop just painting over the zone over each other.
We haven't seen any major losses of the players. Like, they are content to just kind of shoot over the zone at each other while sticking to their own side. So the zone really hasn't been any one strong side to favor. Well, I say that, then two members of Tension go down. The last two members kind of just stuck down in their mid, but they are able to counter with two members of LSNN. So there is a possibility they're able to take this right back and then take it back to square one again.
Yeah, I'm just, like we said, the zone is super hotly contested, flipping back and forth and back and forth. LSSN almost gets the lead, but does get taken away by ASC Tenshi capping the zone. But it's not too big of a heartbreak, especially this early in the game, these low point totals. You're not too heartbroken about not getting the lead because you know in a few minutes you're going to get the chance yet again. And it looks like LSSN is having the zone, approaching the lead very rapidly, and it's going to switch right about now. ASC Tenshi is, starting to worry a little bit more about these pushes and how they're going to get out of it as this push goes on and on. They are approaching the 50-point mark, which is when things start to get hairy in a lot of cases. Your LDE is going to start becoming activated if these any of these players are running it, which just makes things slightly more difficult for the winning team.
Quite so. And because of the so back and forth as of yet, there really hasn't been too much of a penalty, but if Tension is able to bring it back now, LSN is going to get a pretty hefty penalty, as we saw in that last match when they flipped it around the 20 mark, but it looks like they're just going to hold on to it. They're getting down to the 10 point, possibly the KO, unless Tension is able to really bring something out. We do see a couple of the ink strikes, but they are not quite enough. There's two not quite fast enough to get that zone back before the timer runs out.
Yeah, we saw basically the same thing that we saw on Mahi. Both of these teams were fighting, like I said, back and forth, where not much happening in mid, not in terms of who's getting the advantage, but at one point LSSN got an advantage and ran with it and didn't let go, really. So game 2 also goes to LSSN in a pretty dominant fashion. Once again, ASC Tenshi has to decide on a counterpick that'll suit them. And we'll see how that goes here, if they can finally, choose a map that can scrape out any advantage for them.
So far, ASC Tension has been able to, they have been a really strong opening for both of these matches, but then LSNN just really has been done such a better job of just locking them out, just holding on for the zone for the amount of time they need to get the KO. And I think that is really going to what's come down to it. They have pretty similar comps, very frontline based comp, so they're gonna have to find a map that will put LSNN at the disadvantage and just keep them at bay so they can hold on to that zone.
Yeah, it looks like I don't know if you already said this, but Hagglefish zone's coming out. Once again, a map that you would expect to see a backline on, but I'm guessing the splashes that these teams are running in spades. The splashes are plentiful. Those are basically going to act like the team's backlines, putting a lot of pressure on a specific area very safely, and also, in large quantities. You can't really stand in an area that a crab tank is looking at you, or you're just going to get shredded or explo-shotted, basically. It's a very rough predicament, but we'll see who comes out on top. It looks like the team that has been running more splashes has been winning. That's just kind of how things work sometimes, especially if you have the scale to back it up.
Mm-hmm. Now, interesting enough, this map has also gotten the pole treatment as Wahoo had.
I forgot about that. Not gonna see much difference here. I mean, it does give you a tiny bit of cover from a crab tank that's maybe on the enemy's tent, but they can just shoot one of their lob shots at you and chip you to death slowly but surely. So I don't really know how that's gonna help. Once again, we'll see if these teams are gonna stick with what works for them, or if they're gonna switch to something a little bit more unorthodox. No, same comp from both sides. Why mess with what works?
Yes, indeed, we're going to be running that same comp once again. The one thing I am noticing now is that the junior is one of the big differences between these two comps. We have the double splash on ASC Tenshi, but the junior kind of brings out a support player for LSNN, and it seems to be working for them so far. Well, I'm not quite sure what I guess the strategy is involved there, but looks like they're going to go down 2 in this first match.
2 down on the side of LSSN, like you said, but we're going to see if ASC Tenshi is going to scrape an advantage out of that. Looks like they're not. They're 3 down themselves. That splash is pretty close to their crafting, as you can see on the top bar, and it is going to come out relatively soon, but it's, not really sure if they're going to be able to take anything out of that. Especially, you just have to pop it at the right time and with the right support from your teammates. And right now, the zone is ticking down to that 50-point mark, like we said, which is a, pretty crucial milestone. And things are starting to look really, really hairy for ASC Tenshi.
Yeah, they lost their Neo Splash while they're shooting out their Ink Strikes, and LSNN is still pretty far into Tenshi's base right now, just really pushing them back from zone. They are having trouble even getting to it, and they're pretty much all the way down to a 10 already. We'll have to see if they're able to cap it here, because it is incredibly dangerous for them.
They do start to get an advantage. Looks like the members of LSSN are starting to get staggered, going down 1 or 2 times each and just rotating who's currently on the field. That machine is up right now, but they're all really far back. If ASC Tenshi can take enough space to prevent LSSN from moving out of their spawn for a bit, I could definitely see this flipping eventually. They are, encroaching on the lead slowly but surely. It's going to be about 30 points more of holding that they need to take, but with all these Bia bombs and all the specials, the crafting and the bubble, all of them are going to combine to get a nice cap for LSSN, which is shortly turned around with ASC Tenshi taking it back once more and going to start working on their penalty, hoping desperately that they can hold it for long enough. Beautiful double by the machine just makes it more and more likely that they are going to be able to take this again.
Yeah, this is the bit that they were struggling with in these last couple of matches. Like, they were able to take back the zone, but then LSNN was able to take it right back, so they are taking away quite a bit of points here, but we'll have to see, as all of LSNN is up right now and they have specials on the go, if they're able to maintain the zone or if they're going to get another penalty added.
Oh, that is going to be another penalty added. Basically, stopping where they were in their tracks. They have 70 points till KO, and that's where they were before. LSSN does have a hefty penalty to chew their way through, but they still hold the lead. It is really on ASC Tenshi to be the ones being aggressive, and LSSN can kind of sit back on their heels and just play a bit more relaxed, play a bit more confident, and not take too many dangerous risks here. They do shred a Booyah on the left side, but there's going to be a lot of players going down on both sides. LSSN is 2 down, but they are rapidly approaching the KO here with only about 10 seconds left on the board until that happens if they can paint the zone.
Eugene doing a nice job of using their bubble to just try to keep them out of the zone. They are already through the penalty, 5 points down, and 3 members of Tenshi down, so that's going to be the KO for LSNN in a 3-0 of this set.
Yeah, there was a lot of opportunities that we saw ASC Tenshi begin to take it back in that game and in the others, but it looks like they just kind of didn't have what it takes at a lot of moments to just delay the power of LSNN's hold here, and that is going to be a pretty dominant set for them.
I think the one offset of the junior versus the double splash, they had a lot of sprinting power with their double splash, a lot of aggression, but with just the junior and that bubbler, that LSNN had a lot more staying power, and that was what allowed them to hold the zone for as long as they did, and then in the end just get those 3 games.
Yeah, but that is going to be it for this winners finals. ASC Tenshi is going to get knocked into losers and LSSN going on to grands, if I'm correct. Sometimes I don't know how double elim works. That is a major character flaw for me. But if I'm right, we are going to be going continue following to ASC Tenshi as they see if they can redeem themselves for a place in grands. We will be right back after a short break.
Champions is going to be,
And that is game.
And that is lead!
Is the tournament.
Oh my god!
That's game. That was the anchor.
Splatoon Stronghold, a stronghold for competitive Splatoon, providing resources to long-timers and newcomers alike. If you're new to the competitive scene or still figuring out how to join, we have a getting started guide and plenty of other resources to help you in your journey. If you are a seasoned veteran, we still have plenty to offer. You can find and join tournaments as well as participate in our Captain Forum and find free agents and teams. Our mission is to make competitive Splatoon easily accessible to everyone. So what are you waiting for? Join the Splatoon Stronghold today!